As Israel's claims regarding a premeditated Hamas mass rape campaign on October 7 continue to fall apart, new horrifying evidence is emerging of mass sexual violence and rape against Palestinians committed by the Israeli military. A recent article in the Times of London, in addition to UN reports and investigative journalism in the independent media, have been blowing holes in Israel's allegations of an ordered mass rape campaign on October 7, while the evidence mounts of mass sexual violence against Palestinians. As early as December of last year, allegations began to emerge that female Palestinian prisoners were being raped in Israeli jails, after women were released in a prisoner exchange and testified to the media. Not only this, but in a series of testimonies collected by Israeli human rights group B'Tselem, released female Palestinian detainees stated that Israeli forces threatened to rape them like Hamas raped Israeli women, demonstrating that the October 7 rape stories spread by the corporate media had directly motivated rape threats against Palestinian women. Back in February, a UN panel of experts sounded the alarm over evidence produced by the United Nations of 2 cases of rape committed against Palestinian women, in addition to various threats of rape and cases of sexual harassment. Yet, there was little interest expressed in the issue from Western politicians who had spoken out with so much indignation about October 7 allegations. In March, horror stories emerged of sexual abuse being committed in Gaza, including a case allegedly reported by Canadian volunteer physicians of a woman being raped for 2 days, leaving her unable to speak from the trauma. At Sed Timan detention center, where Palestinians are held without charges after being kidnapped from Gaza, it was recently revealed in an expose published in the New York Times that Palestinians were being raped with burning metal rods. This correlated with an UNRWA report that noted identical examples from their sources of the kinds of sexualized torture, including the rape of a man with a burning metal rod who was left to slowly die. Women were not spared from sexual violence at Sid Teenman either. A 34-year-old woman testified that, quote, "A male soldier took off our hijabs and they pinched us and touched our bodies, including our breasts." She also stated that she was spat on, beaten, and that her and other women had pepper smeared on their genitals. Also, in a UN-mandated independent investigative inquiry report released on June 12, it was concluded that mass sexual abuse carried out by Israeli military personnel was, quote, "either ordered or condoned," pointing fingers at Israel's chain of command. This report found that Israeli forces, quote, "systematically targeted and subjected Palestinians to sexual and gender-based violence online and in person since October 7, including through forced public nudity, forced public stripping, sexualized torture and abuse, and sexual humiliation and harassment," end quote. However, sexual violence against Palestinians didn't begin on October 7 and was even present during the creation of the State of Israel. In a documentary called Tentura, released in 2022, admissions by former Zionist militia members regarding various cases where Palestinian women were raped in 1948 were captured on film. The elderly Israelis spoke about these cases while smiling and even laughing about it. If we look back to another major chapter in the history of the conflict during the Second Intifada, in 2002, Israeli occupation soldiers took control of Palestinian TV networks in the West Bank city of Ramallah to broadcast pornography on several channels. Knowing that Palestinian society is a socially conservative one, it was clear that this was done with the intent of humiliation, and we see this trend continuing today with the Israeli army admitting to running snuff film telegram channels. Israeli soldiers are also frequently releasing videos of themselves rummaging through the underwear drawers of Palestinian women after raiding their homes in Gaza. In order to humiliate the women, soldiers have also posted videos on social media of themselves wearing lingerie they seized and while insulting Palestinian women that it belonged to. We could go on for days about the thousands of rape and sexual abuse cases against Palestinians during this conflict, but it suffices to say that what is currently happening is clearly on a grander scale. In addition to this, with so much mounting evidence of systematic sexual abuse against Palestinians by Israeli soldiers, why has this not created the outroar that the allegations on October 7 did? And why don't we see the likes of Hillary Clinton spearheading a campaign calling for international condemnation? As the evidence suggests, that October 7 mass rape campaign allegations appear to have actually motivated sexual violence and abuse carried out by Israeli soldiers that believed many of the gory stories repeated by Western officials and the corporate media, which have since been debunked. What level of culpability do those who repeated these stories bear in the proven sexual violence cases against Palestinians?